It's like you're giving me the forecast of your yawn, then the actual yawn, then a post yawn report.
You're
All of
making me
which,
laugh and now I can't do it and I'm very tired.
all of
Hold
which
on.
I really want to
I
skip.
need to go off camera.
Oh my goodness. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Just One More Cookie. We are the third episode into our third season ish. So, we are so happy that you joined us for another episode. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about the basics, which then leads us into so many other interesting side conversations. So, as we're talking through this, as always, we want to hear what your feedback is. What do you guys think about this topic? How are you getting back to the basics? Are you getting back to the basics? Do you need to get back to the basics? We are so excited for you to join our conversation on another episode of Just One More Cookie.
So I believe I've shared this with you maybe a couple weeks ago. So on Facebook, I had an ad pop up, which, of course, Facebook, they pretty much know all your business. So, of course, if I ever click on anything or based on my search results and everything, they market stuff to you. So I look and, they have all of these ads sometimes and it'll be like, you've tried this weight loss program before and this new thing. And it's always, I feel like it's a buildup, right? So it's, at the end of this video, listen to what the magic is going to be. You're going to be transformed, blah, blah, blah. So I clicked on it, of course, because I'm a sucker. So I was looking at it and it was by this doctor, and which I think they used that to sell it, of course. And then, there's another one that I looked at that was by a personal trainer who's like a famous, like he trains famous people, blah, blah, blah. So then you watch this big long video, you answer this little questionnaire, and then based on that, then they market stuff to you. And so with this one, because I watched a couple of them. So with this one was specific to women. So you answer a lot of questions based on what your cycle is and like your hormones. So when you're craving food or craving sugar, when you feel like you're extra emotional, all that. And then based on that, then it kind of it's supposed to give you a plan. So with this one, with my answers, it sent me this and it said that during the first 2 weeks of my cycle that I should do more higher intensity on the higher intensity side workouts. And then it was okay to consume, like some carbs and everything. And then for the second half, they said you're not supposed to do any high intensity stuff at all. It was just basically walking. Then during that second half, that's when you cut carbs almost completely. So, and then he even said that women should not do high intensity workouts because a woman's body is built differently than a man. So, a lot of times the effect of high intensity workouts can be actually harmful. So, I was thinking about that because obviously, I think that what is so frustrating a lot of times for people when they're starting to work out or even when they are starting a weight loss journey, I think a lot of times it can be very overwhelming. Like, where do I start? Or who's right? Because that's the thing. So, I found other recommendations that say you should do high intensity and that's all you should do. You should just do circuit training. You should train like, like not specifically CrossFit, but that in that vein that you should do a lot of really, really intense workouts. So I started thinking about that and kind of like the journey that I have started to take and that I'm trying to take to figure out of all of the stuff that ingesting from the outside world, how much of it do I listen to? How much of it do I dismiss? So I found it really interesting. Just trying to think of, okay, what's the right path for me? You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of people feel that, and I feel like it sometimes can set people up for failure.
Yeah, I feel like this is like especially a relevant conversation when it comes to women
Mhm.
because and this is it's not even just with this. I feel like in so many areas like I feel like our base level information was so flawed because so many men had their hands in it, right?
Mhm.
Like when you think about health, a woman's journey of health is so different than a
Right.
man's journey. But even within women's journey, like our journeys are so different amongst each other. Like even the first thing that you were talking about with like looking at your cycles, like
Mhm.
everything you're talking about, I had heard. I follow this girl on Instagram. Her name is Maddie Miles, and she's really great because she's very much into hormone therapy, like really supporting women, one, getting off of hormonal birth control, because she like preaches very strongly that she doesn't believe that we should be on it. It messes with our hormones. It's just not healthy at all. But also she talks about how our phases are not just bleed and not bleed. Like
Mhm.
she was like, that's the lie we've been told, that actually
Yeah.
we go through like four different phases. So it's like follicular and luteal and something else. I don't know like the exact
Mhm.
words, but like underneath each of those phases, like you're supposed to exercise a certain way and you're supposed to eat a certain diet. Like she talks about when you're menstruating, the reason why you crave like dark chocolate is that you are deficient because you're bleeding, so you're deficient of certain nutrients, so of course you're like craving those. So it's like just with listening to that, it's like, oh, so like my diet is going to depend a lot on my hormones, and I'm going to have to deal with those hormones in conjunction with how I eat and how I work out. But also like you can do research just on body types, right? So like there's
Mhm.
endomorph and ectomorph and like all of those body types, which really focuses on where you carry your weight the most. So I'm an endomorph, and endomorphs carry a lot of their body weight in their lower abdominal region. And the main thing that that preaches is that you should be doing high intensity interval training, right?
Mhm.
So it is sometimes overwhelming because there is contradictory information, all of which is backed by science, right?
Mhm.
Almost all of these health claims, the diets, the exercise science has science behind it that can show that it's effective. But none of that really makes any difference when it comes to personal application,
Mhm.
because I remember when I was like really into vegan. So I get on this like paid membership and you get like new recipes every month and all vegan. And I'm making like vegan broccoli cheese soup and I mean it's pretty much thick broth that I'm eating,
Mhm.
right? And like veggie fajitas, which is just a bunch of veggies I'm throwing in corn tortillas. And it's like I'm eating and my body is just not feeling nourished.
Mhm.
I like overall just felt very lethargic and sluggish. Like my body did not respond well to that. And
Mhm.
then it was like when I switched back to a more balanced and I incorporated meats back into my diet, I started feeling much better. So for me, I feel like everything is valid,
Mhm.
but not everything is appropriate for me.
Right.
So I can look at something and say, yeah, I'm sure this works for people. I'm not doubting it because a diet of cake. If my diet was I'm only eating one piece of cake a day and that's my diet, I could honestly sell that because you would lose weight, right?
Oh,
Like,
there's a pie diet. Have you heard of that?
no, but
Yeah.
it sounds delicious. Do you know
No,
what I
and
mean?
yeah, well, and it's not like a full-time, and I can't remember, somebody told me about it, but I think it's supposed to jumpstart you, like before you start an intense diet. So like I think it's for 3 days before all you eat is pie. And somebody
Yeah.
told me about it. I'm like, that's a lie. But it's for real. If you Google it,
Yeah.
it'll show you the pie diet.
Yeah. I I know for me, like some people do really well with restrictive diets. So like
Mhm.
some people do great with keto or paleo or vegan, whatever. They do great on those. I like the minute you say I cannot have something, something happens in my brain and I go the apps I do terrible on any sort of restriction. So I feel like a lot of claims that people are making are very valid because of course at some point you can test this on a group of participants all who have different body types, different digestive systems, different family history, like all of those things, so it's going to click with a group of people. And of course, like one of the things I worry about too with how much information we have about specific diet types and even how we work out. My thing is like, it's hard to make sweeping claims with anything
Mhm.
because I feel like the very like root and instrument of our body being able to tell us what it wants to eat, what it needs is already broken. For one, if you've struggled with obesity for any amount of time, especially if you've struggled with childhood obesity, that system, in my opinion, is broken. I have no
Mhm.
scientific proof behind this besides my own experience. So everything I'm sharing is just experience, like my own experience. I feel like that's broken. So
Mhm.
it's hard for me to even say, what do I need? Because
Mhm.
there is a level that I feel like my body doesn't trust me right now. So I feel like it's not going to tell me what it needs because it's like you don't listen. You've
Mhm.
proven yourself. You don't listen to anything we say. Just do your own thing and then we'll wreak havoc on you and you'll feel
Mhm.
terrible all the time.
Well, I think even to that point, I feel like we don't know how to listen to it, even if it is talking to us. Cause I feel like the same way. And I feel like it has, not that we've been indoctrinated necessarily, but it's like you hear stuff, even the healthy stuff. And, they'll tell you, need to eat 5 cups of vegetables a day and two cups of fruit, and you need to have this many grains and this much protein and all this stuff. And I started to realize, and maybe like a month or 2 ago, I'm like, "This is so much food," and I'm eating it, and especially, with Weight Watchers, because you count points and there's so many things that are zeros, and I started to examine that in myself and thinking, "I can eat this in my plan and still stay within my points," but on some of the meals, I would eat them, and afterwards, I'm like, "I am so full." I could have stopped, and not had this fruit for dessert, or I could have, cut out the protein for this meal and maybe ate it at dinner instead. But yeah, I feel like what you're saying is absolutely true, that there is the system is broken and there's a misconnection, and we don't know how to hear or how to listen to our own bodies.
Yeah, and also like the majority of food that we're being fed, it's like we do not really know what, first of all, we don't really know what it is that's in our food, and we also
Yeah.
don't really know what it's doing to us. So a lot of times too, it's like even all these plans that we're getting, are these plans incorporating that even if you tell me to just eat like, just eat fruits and vegetables,
Mhm.
but maybe I'm going and I'm buying fruits and vegetables that maybe aren't organic or maybe like have been treated with something. And it's
Mhm.
like I'm trying to do the right thing, but then just not realizing that what I'm eating is like doing me more harm than good because of what is being put in this food, which then
Right.
takes it to like so many, and this takes it back to something that I genuinely believe. So many overweight people are frustrated because it's like you're trying to figure out the answer
Mhm.
to a formula that really is unsolvable because there's so much outside of us that we cannot control, right? So it's like the we're being sold all these supplements and taking supplements and not even knowing if they're good for us. We're trying to eat healthy, not realize, just like I said, not realizing how much the food industry is largely hurting us more than helping us. And this is like statistically proven, right? It's shown in so many ways. And then it's like, then you add on top of it that we essentially live in a world that's consistently telling us that we don't belong and that something is wrong with us. So it's like, for people who are even trying at this point, sometimes it does feel like you're just running head first into a wall. And it's like, what's the solution? Because you're all I'm guilty of this. I'm always looking for the new plan, the new pill, the new, what's the next thing. And I'm not looking for, and this is what I feel like is the misconception. It's like this idea that just people who are overweight are just looking, give me something that I don't have to do the work for. I don't largely see that. I don't.
No, it's not give me something I don't have to do the work. Give me something that is effective.
That works. Yeah.
Yeah,
Give me something that when I do it, I know it's going to work. And here's the thing
absolutely.
too. It's like when I went to the doctor, and my point of going to the doctor was just to get me back on my antidepressants. It wasn't necessarily for like my weight. But my doctor is such an angel that afterwards she was like, "Is there anything else I can help you with?" And I start talking about my weight, and my frustration, and I'm telling her like, this is the amount of calories I'm eating, this is the level of working out that I'm doing. And it's like very blank expression, and it was, you should just eat less. And I'm like, okay. um then I go home, and it wasn't, I don't think it was the same day actually. Probably on a day, it was close to it, but I'm talking to my boyfriend about the same issue. And like, bless his heart, he really does. He listens and he tries to give feedback. But it's like, like sometimes like you're talking to people and they give feedback and you're like, you should have just like not talked.
Right.
Like,
You don't get it. You don't
yeah,
get it.
like I
Yeah,
can tell that you wanted to be helpful, but by the
yeah,
words that have come out of your mouth, like I realize that you know nothing about this topic,
right.
right? Like, even when he talks about like being overweight, like I try to stay in it. I try to be empathetic. I try to hear what he's saying, but I'm thinking, wow, this, the struggle that you must have gone through as a man in your mid to late 30s, when you were, I don't know, 40 to 50 pounds overweight. Did you feel like you were not desirable to women? Did you like wake up in the morning and measure yourself against the other female population while you were out? Were you thinking about your stomach going over your pants? And I'm like in it. And I was like, I needed a microphone. I was like, I need to stand up while I'm talking to you about this. And of course, he was like, it wasn't a conversation he wanted to have, because I knew I was right. Because it's like, and I'm speaking mostly to women, because I don't necessarily, I can't speak to a man's struggle, because one, I can't relate. And two, like my heart and my mind is not there to even be empathetic towards their struggle. Because in my head, like, if Casey came home tomorrow and was like, I want to drop like 30 pounds, I'm not going to hear statements of like, um, his hormones are really acting up, or he's really struggling with bloating and constipation because it's around his period, or cravings, or like even just having a broken system based on years and years of dealing with childhood obesity. And I'm not saying any of this to make an excuse out of it. I'm saying it because I feel like I'm just so tired of beating up on myself. And
Mhm.
I'm so tired of like hearing other women do the same. Now, I'm not suggesting the other side, because I do feel like more women are waking up to this, but I don't want the other side, which is I'm going to accept my body as it is and I'm just going to let go and gain a bunch of weight. Like, that's not, I feel like it shouldn't be a this or that. I feel like there should be moderation to it, in that the understanding that there's no quick fix, there's no new program that you need, there's no new revelation that you need. and you're not just not doing enough or faking it. Like, I don't think that that's the side where we need to beat ourselves up and make ourselves feel like trash because we're not fitting a standard. But then the other side, I feel like shouldn't be. Are you okay?
I accidentally hit this.
I feel like the other side is this idea. So let's say that like we live in a society that just like it's let's flip it, right? And instead of us worshiping like everybody's pelvic bones, we're worshiping how many rolls you have on your stomach, right? Like let's say that's the society that we live in. And like the big people are the elite and the small people are the trashy ones that we put in the corner and hide in the shadows, right? So like let's say that that's how we're set up. The reality of that is that it's still very unhealthy for your body to be weighted down with excess weight. Like you cannot get
Mhm.
away from that science that says the more body weight that I have in my body, the more it's going to impact my joints and like even like mentally, like mental health wise. If I have so much extra body weight on my body that it's difficult for me to navigate stairs, that like if I go from one side of my living room to another and I'm already like out of breath, like from the standpoint of living just in general, even if society is praising that, like personally I still feel like it would be a negative impact. So going in
Mhm.
the other direction and just saying, well, whatever, I'm going to eat whatever I want and I'm going to enjoy life and I'm just going to live, I feel like that's still limiting how you can live and to what level you enjoy life, because when you are feeling good, then you're living good. And having a certain amount of excess weight on your body, whether you want to justify it or not, can have a long term negative impact on your existence now. And then put you at a place when you're 50, 60, 70, and you can't even walk because your knees don't work. So you're bound to a wheelchair. How is that? How is that the answer? So I'm saying, like, finding some sort of moderation in between those where we're acknowledging, okay, not I'm sick and done. I'm done with the idea of what new pill do I need to take or what am I not doing or beating myself up because I'm not doing enough. How do I find that medium in between those two realities?
Right. And I think that's very difficult, like we were saying, to try to figure out how to do that, how to navigate that. And I think me personally, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make a shift, and I've noticed that I've done it. I do it some of the time, but just that focus and that realization that what works for some people won't necessarily work for me, or some portion of what somebody is doing might be applicable to me. I can apply it. I can, make it work for me. But I feel like I'm trying to take in all of this knowledge and all these opinions and trying to sift through it and figure out what is it that is going to be best for me, and trying to learn that, trying to listen to my body, trying to feel like, or basically stop and take a second, take a beat, and question myself, am I really hungry right now? And sometimes, and this is a huge milestone for me, that I have just incorporated that. And I don't do it every time. Obviously, I don't tell myself no and then I stop eating. Not to say like, I'm shoveling food in, but sometimes it's like, well, no, I'm not really hungry, but this is on my plate and this is really, really good. So I want to finish it. But I feel like there's starting to be times when I'm asking myself that question and my body is honestly answering, am I hungry right now? Not really. And then I feel like as I'm listening to that, it's almost like I'm letting go of that. It's almost like I feel like, I don't know the best way to describe this. So maybe it's like I feel like I'm betraying the food if I don't eat it. So it's like, you know, you're walking away, you're abandoning it. It's like, are you really that hungry? And you're like, no, I have to leave you, food. It's kind of like that clean plate club. And maybe that's part of
Yeah.
maybe because I know a lot of people, that's how you were raised. And I think we were to a certain point, especially I remember mom making me eat cooked carrots and I hated them
Hmm.
so bad. And she's like, "You finished these carrots. I made them and you're not going to waste them." And I feel like that has been, especially our generation, I feel like that's very common. So to actually try to break that cycle and start to listen to myself and not feel like I'm abandoning the food on my plate and, throwing it away or wasting it. And I feel like it's such a big accomplishment. And when it does happen, I feel like I step back and I walk away and I want to throw myself a party. Like, this is a huge, huge obstacle that I mean, I'm 40 years old and I'm just starting to incorporate this. This is amazing.
Yeah, so that's a really great point because it goes back to when I was talking to my doctor who said you should eat less. And then Casey had said the same thing. Like, we're having this conversation. I'm so frustrated. I don't know. And he was like, just eat less. And it's like,
And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think what is interesting too, I feel like when people say that to me and to you and say, well, just eat less. And the problem is, it's like you're at 100+ pounds down. I'm at almost 70 pounds down. So for you to say, I have the answer for you, you just eat less. I'm like,
yeah,
we've been doing this for a long time. Obviously,
yeah,
we know what we're doing. We have the results. For you to just say, "I have the answer," it's eat less. I feel like that is it. It's just very frustrating because it's like, again, it's like you don't get it.
yeah. And it's almost like the evidence is there, right?
Right,
And that helps to take off the idea of like, oh, they must just think that I'm looking for like when I'm talking to my doctor, I'm looking at her like, if I wanted a pill, I would have taken it at over 300 pounds.
right.
But it did get me thinking, and me and you talked a lot about this. It did get me thinking because my doctor explained a little bit further when I went on another visit with her because we were still it's become an open conversation between me and her, which is why I respect her. But she was saying that like she said, "Amy, think about it this way." She was like, "You've struggled with obesity since you were a child. So since you can remember, you allowed yourself to eat much more than you needed. So when you create a pattern of feeding yourself a certain amount every day, your body gets used to that." Also, when you are struggling with obesity, it's like food is the spotlight. Food is
Mhm.
all you're thinking about. Like
Right,
the day is timed out by my meals, you
right.
know?
What you eat
Like,
something and it's almost like clockwork. Okay, I've just
yeah.
eaten lunch. How many hours until dinner?
Yeah, and what am I eating for It's like all that's all
Yes.
you're thinking about. You wake up, what am I eating for breakfast? You go throughout the day, what am I eating for lunch? And then it's like, then food plans your day out.
Mhm.
Food determines what you do when you're bored. Like every time you sit in front of a TV, it's like, am I just supposed to sit here and watch without having something to eat? And then it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm just supposed to like go to bed without having a snack. It's like your body becomes used to it. So she was like, even when it comes to listening to your body, she was like, that looks different for you because your body is used to something different. So then, even when I went home and talked to Casey about it, that conversation led us into an even deeper conversation about when I make dinner. He was like, you don't need to like pile on my plate. And
Mhm.
I pile on. Like if I make it, I'm like, I don't want leftovers because I don't want
We're
to pack.
eating
It's
it.
like, eat
Yeah,
all of this because I don't want to
yeah.
pack this up? So it's like, I'll give him so much. And then it's like, I'll give myself so much because I'm like, oh, I made it. It's going to be good. And
Mhm,
it's like, I'll eat it. And immediately when I'm done eating, I'll think, okay, so I want like something sweet. Like even if it's just a fruit, but it has nothing to do with hunger because I haven't even checked in with myself. It's just I'm
mhm.
always going to have something sweet after dinner because that's just what I've always done. And then when I crave it, in my mind I can think, well, that's what my body wants, but really sometimes I think, is that what my body wants or is it just a learned behavior?
Right. Is it what my body wants or is it what my mind wants or my emotions
Yeah.
want? Yeah. And trying to figure out what voice is speaking.
Yeah. And I feel like this is where, for me, it's come back to base knowledge and a lot of recalibration. Because if I take away all of this, if I take away all the fad diets, all the things I've done over the years, and I take it back to like the basic eat less, move more, which we have essentially annihilated, right? Like, that's
Yeah.
stupid. How dare you? There's so much more involved. And I still believe there's so much involved, right? Like, I have horrible gut issues, and it's been
Mhm.
so bad this last year. Like, I've been to urgent care, I've been to numerous doctor's appointments, and I don't have health insurance. So if I'm paying for this, I know it's an issue. But it's like I've had so many gut issues that I feel like are connected to my hormones. But it's like, and I know that my the offset of my hormones has a lot to do with the fact that I'm still carrying excess body weight. And the excess body weight is putting stress on my body. Like, I know this to be true, right? So it's like all of the other things that I've gone down numerous rabbit holes trying to explore and spending money and trying and trying and trying and coming back to like where I'm at again, eat less, move more. I've I've realized one thing is that, one, my body needs a lot more less food than I thought it did. That's the first thing I realized, because I was like, let me test this eat less nonsense.
Mhm.
But it's like when I decided to eat less, it was like food stopped being the highlight. I don't
Mhm.
even think about food like that. And exercise, which these are all scientifically proven, which I guess doesn't mean anything, because like we said, anything can be scientifically proven.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, even when you think about working out, we have made working out to be a way to save us from the sins of what we've eaten, right? It's like, I have to work out because I ate cake.
Mhm.
When really, like, working out is just for aerobic activity. Literally, it's helping you with your endurance. It's helping you with your joints. It's like keeping energy moving through your body. But it's not meant to be utilized for poor eating choices. But we've made it that. So when working out stops becoming, I have to do this because I need to burn all the calories of the bad food, and working out just is, I know my body was made to move, and I know I feel better and I move better and I can do normal day-to-day activities without getting winded. That's why I work out. I approach it differently and I do it a lot less.
That's so powerful just even thinking about that when you said that. I loved how you put it, and I don't remember the exact words that you just used, which is sad because that was 2 seconds ago. But, how we work out to make up for our poor eating choices, I think was similar to what you were saying.
Yeah.
I did not think about it that way. I feel like that is an amazing point, and I feel like if we shift our focus from that and put it on the focus that you just talked about, where moving our bodies is good for us, I feel like it's easier to motivate yourself than to do that. Because otherwise, I feel like if our focus is on making up for our mistakes with the things that we eat, I feel like it's more of a punishment. It was almost like, you ate this. Shame on you. Now look what I
Mhm.
have to do to fix your mistakes. And so then, of course, it's harder to motivate you because you're coming from a place of negativity instead of a place of inspiration and positivity and looking at it as, my body's going to feel amazing after I do this, or this is a huge accomplishment. I wasn't able to do this workout 5 years ago, and now I can, and I don't get so winded. Or, it was something fun to do, like it was such a nice day. The weather was perfect, and I took this really amazing walk, or I went with a friend and we had this great conversation while we were on our walk. I feel like that is, that's something that you've challenged me. I'm going to have to I'm going to have to work that into my thought process because I feel like a lot of times my my focus has shifted, especially when you hit a plateau and you feel like you just want to get the weight off. And so it's like, okay, well, I have to do this because I want to get this goal. And it takes the focus away from I'm helping myself. I'm doing something to better myself. I'm taking care of myself. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, and like to even hear myself say it, to see myself do what I'm doing now is unprecedented because I started this journey in, I think, 2002 or 2003.
Hmm.
It's 2022. Like, this is almost 20 years in the making. And from the start, it didn't matter what I was dealing with. A routine workout plan has always been a part of my life, always. And a lot of it has to do with just I love movement. I've always been a very active girl. Even when I was very obese, I loved being active. But it's like when I started this year in December, because this year I really wanted to focus on dropping weight. And of course, as with any like health goal I make, it's like I'll think it's about the physical, and it's just literally this deep internal dive to what I've learned about health, what I believed about it. And it's just always more learning, more healing. But it's like at the beginning of this year, I was like, I'm going to work out every single day, twice a day. I'm going to walk for 45 minutes and then I'm going to do a 45-minute workout. And it's like hit training, cycling, whatever it was, running. And I did that for 7 months with only a week break because I went to Jamaica in there to be in a friend's wedding. But it's like for 7 straight months, every single day, I'm out there working out like crazy. And it's like when I realized that, it was literally after I had the conversation with the doctor, the conversation with Casey, and really started thinking about what what am I really eating every day? And why am I even working out? And what is working out even for? So then I really started doing research into that and started like listening to people who plugged into that. And I thought, what if I significantly reduced how much I do like intentional activity to only 4 times a week and only do things that I enjoy, do them much later in the day because I was sick of waking up at 4:30 in the morning.
Hmm.
And what if I did things that I just wanted to have fun with? And what if I reduced it from 45 minutes to 30 minutes on some days? I got an Apple Watch for my birthday and I synced it for my Apple Watch. I'm only working out 4 days a week. It's only going to be 30 minutes, and anything else I do is just extra. And then it's like
Yeah.
I've incorporated activities that I love to do since I was a teenager. So it's like me and Casey have been playing basketball and like throwing a football around and just running around and like being competitive. I started like um well, I was doing cycling, so that's one thing. I started doing this like 30-minute workout at this one gym that literally only attracts people who are 50 and up, which I love because I'm like, oh, y'all are kind of around my age. There was a certain time when this would have been like a real snooze fest and I would have been offended. Like, this is a
Yeah.
senior citizen workout. But I'm like, oh, this is good. I sweat a little bit and then I'm out because I'm
Yeah.
like, when I stop thinking of it like I gotta get up because I gotta get these calories, I gotta burn these calories. What did I eat yesterday? Oh, I ate that brownie. I have to cycle today.
Hmm.
When that's not what it was, that's not why we do it or why we should be doing it anyway. So then it's like when I took that off, it's like working out became different. But then it's like even when I'm eating, I'm not eating something or overeating it thinking, I'll make this up at the gym. It doesn't
Right.
matter. It's like, no, because the gym's not doing that for me anyways. Now let me go back to my food and go back to where I'm currently at and also remind myself that it's like anytime you are making progress in life, I feel like it requires you to change as you continue to progress because you're changing as an individual, so your habits, the things that you're doing have to change. So it's like when I hit a certain weight, what I did when I was 300 pounds, it's not going to work when
Right.
I'm 230 pounds. It's not going to I have to make adjustments. So the food I was eating then I can't eat now. It's requiring something more of me. And that meant, okay, the amount that I'm eating now, I think I do need to pull back.
Yeah, I heard somebody say one time, they told me, well, actually it was somebody, she said that she heard it from her husband because she was one, and we talk a lot about um like weight issues and diet issues, and she's much much smaller than me and did not ever struggle like I did, but she of course relates because I feel like it's so common with women. It's just our culture. Basically we're made to be shamed into a certain size or a certain lifestyle or a certain look. So she was saying that her husband used to tell her all the time, you can never outrun your mouth, and basically saying that it doesn't matter how much you work out, if you're not focused on what you're putting in your body, that's all going to be in vain. So I think to change the focus of that and make it so that it's not, I keep going back to again what you said, we're not using workouts to make up for our mistakes. I think that's really important to make that change.
Yeah, and I think too, the the food industry in general is one of the largest industries in our country right now.
Mhm.
Like, and if you think about how much each industry profits off of the amount that we spend on food, of course the messaging is not going to move towards you should eat less. That
Mhm.
would be if that were the mass message that were sent to us, even by health professionals, that would be an issue. Because if we start eating less, that means that my grocery bill goes down. That means that I
Mhm.
stop eating out as much as I used to. So many industries suffer from
Mhm.
that narrative. So of course, it's not going to be something that's largely advocated for, because it doesn't require me to buy something. And which is why I think new programs come out all the time. A new program
Mhm.
means a new way to make money, a new
Right.
way for you to consume. So I feel like if we wipe all of those away and we remind ourselves that we are a unique body with a unique blueprint, and that no pill or program or new idea is essentially something that you need. It's like learning and restoring your relationship with your own self, your own body, to the point of trusting your body, trusting you, and you trusting your body to know, when am I hungry? How much food do I need to merely meet that hunger? Because it's like, if we're hungry, we don't think in terms of like, what do I need to feed myself to be full? It's how much food am I going to consume until I literally get sick? It's like
Mhm.
that's usually our stopping point when we're like, oh, too much, right?
Mhm.
So it's like, when do we trust ourselves and trust our bodies? And then when do we trust ourselves to know how much is enough? And then when do we trust ourselves to know what to feed ourselves?
Mhm.
And I feel like that if that is your focus, if that starts to become your focus and you just start playing around with that, I feel like you can get more reliable data for yourself from that than if you keep going to outside sources who don't know you, who don't know your
Mhm.
history, don't know your body, don't know what you've been through, don't even know. And it's mental too. A lot of it is mental too. And if you did that on the eating side and then on the working out side, where you merely believed, if you tricked yourself into believing, which I've been doing lately, if I am tricking myself to believe when I go out and do this activity, it's not going to help me lose an ounce,
Mhm.
not an ounce. I'm not going to lose anything from this activity. The only reason why I'm doing it is because my body feels better when I do it, and I enjoy physical activity and I have fun doing this.
Mhm.
It then I approach it totally different. I schedule it, and this is great too. When I miss a workout, I do not beat myself up. I don't even think about it. and I don't eat differently because I missed it.
Mhm.
Right? Whereas before it's like, didn't work out. I can't eat dinner because it
Right.
didn't work out. Or if I eat dinner, I'm only gonna have this carrot because I'm not gonna be I didn't get the calories off of me that I needed to. So I feel like returning back to those two basics can, for me, at
Mhm.
the start, because I haven't, this is just I'm always doing new stuff. So I might come back
Mhm.
next month and be like, that was stupid. Let's try something different. But this is where I'm at right now. And this one seems to have connected to me the most.
Yeah. I feel like, going back to workouts, what you were saying, I actually have been trying to incorporate more yoga. And actually, some of the yoga that I've done have been the yin style,
Mm,
which is more, of course, if people aren't familiar with that, it's very much you're holding poses a lot longer. It's pretty low intensity. So I've been especially doing them before bed. I did one last night and I just felt so relaxed. And I have an Apple Watch as well. So I track the calories and it's not, I mean, I think it gave me maybe 120 calories or something like that. And so it wasn't a huge burn, but I mean, I can do a high intensity workout and burn maybe 280 calories. So, I mean, we're talking about maybe, 150, 160 calorie difference. And then, but this workout is so kind to my body. It's so relaxing. And then afterwards, I just feel like such a sense of accomplishment. Or I'll notice at the beginning of the workout, I'm really, really stiff. And then towards the end, I can breathe into it and I can maybe get the pose a little deeper or, stretch a little bit more and just feel so relaxed. And I feel like getting that focus away and changing the way that I think of what working out should look like and going to that place that you were talking about. And so, if I miss something and I don't have, or let's say I don't have time to do a really high intensity workout, or I don't want to do it right before I go to bed because sometimes that can make you stay awake. And so it's not beating myself up because I think, okay, well, I needed to work out today and all I did was this 30-minute yoga. When what I should have done is this 30-minute hit workout and I should have almost killed myself. So trying to think about that and trying to change the focus. And another point that I wanted to make, which this has nothing to do with what I was just talking about, but when you talked about the food industry, it made me think about it. So what I've noticed, and I really I have to really think about this because even, we were talking about you have to listen to your body and figure out, if you're not hungry, don't eat. I have to change the way that I shopping because I've noticed now that I'm shifting this, what I normally buy, some of my stuff is going bad, which breaks my heart because I spend a lot of money on groceries. I buy, organic, I buy clean. So for me to have some tomatoes sitting on the counter that I've spent that were expensive and for them to go rotten and me have to throw them in the garbage is just heartbreaking. So that's another thing that I'm trying to learn and try to navigate. It's okay, I'm changing my focus and I might not necessarily need to buy this much food. Maybe I need to cut it in half. So it's very much a learning experience and I'm really kind of excited of this leg of my journey. I feel like it's more mental than anything, which is really a beautiful thing.
when you look at messaging outside of yourself, there's always going to be a reason that you can find that why what you're doing is wrong, right?
Right.
Like anything you try,
Mhm.
anything you try when it comes to health, you can look it up online and you can find reasons as to why you're doing it wrong and why there's a better way out there, right? Because it's a large money making industry, even when it comes to health and fitness, one of the largest money making industries in our country, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
there's so much money backing this. So yeah, like even the concept of eating less is very demonized, right? Like, oh, you just
Mhm.
want us to starve and, this. anorexic culture. And once again, it is moderation in everything.
Right.
Like, I'm not sitting here saying I don't eat ever. I will say that I've incorporated like full day fasting back into my diet, which, especially if you have roots in any sort of religion, this is not even just Christianity. So many religions talk about that not just being a physical practice but a spiritual practice, because it's the same thing like spiritually. Like, a lot of times we want like the new, what's the new thing I need to do,
Mhm.
like, even in Christianity, what's the more I have to do? Read my Bible more, pray more, what sort of tasks and activities? And then, like, when you get out of the Christianity into new age movement, right? Same, it's the same thing, different practices. What do I need to like walk barefoot in the ground to get more energy in my body? And it's like, even when you look at that, like, I feel like the greatest boost in spirituality is just going back to the basics and not feeling like you have to incorporate so many routines and so many other people's opinions and their feedback. It's like, it's so basic. And it's like, I feel like for us, like, we're literally having to rebuild something that has just been distorted based on how we were raised, based on the society we grew up in, and just based on all of us are just dealing with the poison that's been put into our bodies since we were children. Like,
Yep.
if you're living in the United States, you are having to, especially if you're older, you're having to try to work with a body that has been ravaged by
Yep.
highly processed food with chemicals in it that are still, even now, not, they're not gotten rid of. So it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, some of
I
them are illegal in other countries, and we're feeding it to ourselves, to our children. It's rough. That you're right. We're trying to undo a lot of damage that a lot of times was completely out of our control.
yeah, it's like, it's like, think about in a room, right? Like, if you have an empty room, like, think about how much air and just energy can just move through that room because there's nothing blocking it. It's just like free flowing. But it's like, if you fill that room up with things, right? It's like the ability for movement to happen is much more difficult, right? And then that's where you have to like incorporate putting like an air conditioner, a fan, because all the like, so then that's when you have to like start adding things because you're filling this room up with so much. And I feel like the same is true with our bodies. It's like, I feel like to really get clear with what health and fitness is for you and what's going to work for you, it's like you got to do a lot of clearing. And I think a lot of that clearing has a lot to do with in getting rid of the need to pack your body filled with food and thinking that it's about changing the food that you eat, to just changing how much you eat to get yourself more clear. Because
Mhm.
even on the days when I fast, I fasted on Monday, and a big part of that fast was with my birthday. And then, I mean, it was like Casey's birthday, my birthday, a bunch of friends' birthdays. So it was a whole lot of eating, a lot of drinking. And it's just, my body felt so puffy and
Mhm.
just gross. Like, I just felt so weighted down. And it wasn't even like, it was a different feeling than, oh my God, I ate all this food and I'm so fat. It was just, I felt lethargic. So
Mhm.
on Monday, I was just like sick to my stomach to the point of I'm not eating. So I even made like dinner for Casey, and then I'm like sitting on the bed and he's like, "Oh, are you okay? Should I not?" And we've done this enough before. I'm like, "No, I'm good. Like, this is a choice. You don't have to like hide your food from me." But it's like, I woke up the next day after that fast, so like, I felt so good. Like, I didn't wake up with a stomach ache and like very alert and just like felt so good, to the point where that night when I ended up eating again, it's like I naturally chose better food. I ate much less and my body felt better. So I feel like the concept, it's so simple, yet simple enough to be really profound, to the point of like you said earlier, Ab, I don't even know how to listen to my body,
Mhm.
right? Because I don't even know what my body is saying. I don't even trust my body at this point. So then maybe it is about going back to base level, emptying yourself out, and then telling your body, all right, I'm listening.
Yeah.
Because if it's like,
Right.
if I'm eating too many carbs and I clear out my body and then I start incorporating certain carb laden food back into my body, if I eat that and my body just like goes crazy, now I have data. I
Mhm.
have something that says, okay, my body doesn't like this. Let me get this out of my diet. I feel like that's when you can stop going to other people and then start going to yourself. Literally, this was good.
Mhm.
Everything that I just said, literally, I just explained my behaviors to myself out
Mhm.
loud to myself. And I would like to thank myself for that.
I
Because
feel
I
like
was
that
like,
is an
wow.
amazing thing to do. I've done that to myself before. And
Yeah.
this goes back when you're talking about, and as you were saying that about listening to your body and clearing it out and learning to recognize that voice, I feel like the same applies to your emotions and to your mental health because I've noticed that that has happened to me several times. We're just talking it out and as I'm saying it, because there is so much power in words and so much power in the things that you speak, which is why a lot of times you need to be careful about the things that you say. But then a lot of times it's very important to be honest with the things that you say. Because I've noticed that just me vocalizing it has helped me think about it and helped me process it to where it's almost like I'm teaching myself how to deal with the emotions. So I think that's really great that you just said that. You're really helping yourself. Because I feel like I'll say that too. I'll listen to myself and I'm like, wow, I didn't even think about that. I didn't realize that that was inside of me until I spoke it out. So I feel like a lot of times in a part of this growth process, I feel like something that's so important is to talk about it, is to sometimes ask yourself, maybe out loud, okay, am I really hungry right now? Okay, maybe not. Um, how do I feel right now? Do I feel like I am in a good place mentally or physically to do this high intensity workout? Or am I okay just doing yoga? Is that going to benefit me more? I feel like doing that is a good practice because then you do learn you learn what your voice sounds like internally because you're vocalizing it externally.
Yeah. And I feel like so much of the strain that happens in life happens when we believe that somebody else knows better than us about our own lives.
Yes, I feel
It's
like that is so powerful.
Yeah, because it's a silly thought, right? But
Mhm,
it's one that we've been infused with since birth. Like,
mhm,
I need to ask and consult so many people to tell me everything about my life. And then I'm thinking, but like, if we were given free will and we're given this like amazing brain that like has capacity beyond what my brain can even comprehend, and we've been given intuition, we've been given our like so many personal things that we've been given that we don't tap into. Like, why wouldn't we consistently go to ourselves instead of like going to quote unquote expert? Because your body is consistently sending you messages on
mhm,
a regular. It's just we've gotten to the point of not, like you said earlier, we don't listen to it, we don't even know
mhm.
our own voice. So I feel like this is something that me and you are doing, which is why we even chose to do this topic, because both of us are kind of on this like, let's get back to the basics type of a journey.
Well, I feel like this whole conversation has just been so beneficial to me. I feel like, like I said before, talking it out and just hearing myself and hear you talk about it, I feel like this is really it's been inspirational. So hopefully you guys will maybe you feel inspired about this. Maybe it'll help you get back to the basics We thank you again for joining us. We always have such a wonderful time talking to each other and bringing you into our conversation. We hope that you all enjoyed and got something out of it. And we're so excited to see you next time. Come along and join us for another episode soon coming of Just One More Cookie.